best happened to my life. Now you shut it down. I'm sorry.
Tyrek, look this way.
You got that right. He been stripping pepper all through the shit. Ask his brothers before that. They was sprinkling AK-47 fresh out the box.
My name is Felicia Jones. I am with SEIU 1021 Wealth and Disparities in the Black Community, and I am happy to see you to come out and stand with us. And so now what we want to do for a few 1 minute or less that we know is just not about police brutality, but it is about black on black crime. It is about mass incarceration, violence. It's about housing. It's about health. It's about poor education. It's about jobs. It's about this city having an $8.6 billion budget. And at the same time, you mean to tell me, for those of us who need jobs, who need housing, out of $8.6 billion, you can't help anybody? Out of $11 billion in tourism dollars, you can't help anybody? Out of $665 million in tourism taxes, you can't help anybody? Is it all about the rich and nothing about the poor? Nothing about the poor working class? Well, we are here to say that City Hall is our building. We deserve the right to have the right to the city. So right now, if you have lost loved ones, we want you to shout out their names.
Alex Nato!
Oscar Grant, Tamir Rice, Eric Harris, Walter Scott.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shaquita Fulton. I'm from the San Francisco Living Wage Coalition, and we are currently living in a tale of two cities. Sorry about that. So, as Supervisor Campos was saying, San Francisco has the fastest growing rate of income inequality in the nation. Those in the top 5% make more than 16 times what we in the bottom 20% make. The mayor's economic development policies are to use tax breaks and subsidies to bring high-tech companies to San Francisco. These companies bring in workforce from outside of the city. Much of the political discussion of the effects of the mayor's economic policies is focused on the housing crisis. But not enough attention has been paid to the flip side of the mayor's development model. There's a job crisis in this town, particularly in the African-American community and the Latino communities. There's a high rate of unemployment, underemployment, and people even working full-time but still living in poverty. At least 23% of San Franciscans live in poverty. These are young mothers who are working for their public assistance checks and welfare to work programs, such as myself. They're dead-end programs that we're in. A recent report by the budget and legislative analysts portrayed these programs as dysfunctional and broken. Many of these young single mothers have families going histories back in generations in this city. They go through programs that does not provide real job training, that has no plan for moving people into long-term employment, and at the end, they have reached their time limit for public assistance. The mayor's development model is to reduce the city's unemployment by forcing the unemployed out of the city.
Right.
Hello!
Just as the mayor's economic policies are displacing long-term tenants from their homes, the mayor is using welfare to work programs to displace civil servants from their jobs and shrink public sector employment. Not only are people in welfare to work programs that are working in a form of indentured servitude, but their very work is reducing their opportunities for long-term employment. We here are campaigning for legislation that will transform welfare to work programs into genuine job training programs that provide path to a living wage job. SEIU Local 1021 is partnering with us in demanding that the city provide training and employment opportunities in permanent civil service positions to unemployed parents in welfare to work programs. We are campaigning for economic policies that create jobs for those who already live in the city. Together, we are sending a message to City Hall that it can't solve poverty by pushing out the poor people. Thank you.
Being sick and tired of being sick and tired of being disrespected. We are here. Come on, let me hear you. If you are sick and tired of being sick and tired of being disrespected, you got to make some noise. Right? We need to let them know inside that building that we have had enough. That we have a right to this city. That San Francisco is Ferguson. Our public defender, Santina, I believe that's his last name, a few weeks ago identified it as Jim Crow Francisco. And so we have a right to the city. The disparities are outrageous. They are deplorable. Mayor Lee won't call you back. Any of the department heads won't call you back. We get no respect in this city. It is time for us to rise up, speak up, and stand up. Are you with me? Are you with me? All right, then let me hear you. Raise those signs up. Mayor Lee, can't you see inequality is killing me? Again, Mayor Lee, can't you see inequality is killing me? Mayor Lee, can't you see inequality is killing me? And that's what it is.
Everyone. I'd like for us to take a moment to speak about the realities of racism in this city. The realities that San Francisco is Jim Crow. The reality that San Francisco is practicing racketeering and RICO. The thousands of black people who've been displaced in San Francisco is preposterous. San Francisco has the fastest out-migration of black people since post-Katrina New Orleans. I'll say that again. San Francisco has the fastest out-migration of black people since post-Katrina New Orleans. Gentrification is plaguing our neighborhoods. We're suffering from joblessness, poverty, mass incarceration. Our children are being suspended from school more rapidly than any other ethnic group in this city. We are gathered here today to hold local and city officials accountable for their actions. We have demands for the city. We're no longer going to be complacent with the way that they treat us. We are here. We are the last 3%, but we are here. They tried to bury us, but they did not know that we were seeds. In the words of June Jordan, we are the ones that we've been waiting for. There is power in numbers, and the liberation of black people is the liberation of all people. We demand that you stop profiling, targeting, stopping, frisking, and killing black and brown families. We demand of you, San Francisco, that our community review boards are actually effective and have true jurisdiction over the San Francisco Police Department. We want an educational system that exposes the current and historical racism that exists in our society. And we want barriers to learning to be dealt with professionally and compassionately by culturally competent educators. We demand you, in the name of public service, give up 80% of your department budget to refund school libraries, arts programs, and education and after-school enrichment programs. We demand a complete overhaul of the Police Bill of Rights. We demand police officers receive leave without pay while under investigation. We demand an end to the bleed out policy. We demand that you fire all killer cops. We demand the immediate end to the harassment of the homeless. These are our streets, not yours. We demand a stop to all abuse and violence against mentally ill people committed by law enforcement. We demand a stop to all abuse and violence against LGBTQIA people committed by law enforcement. Police Chief Greg Sir's salary is $100,000 more than the average for chiefs across the nation's top 24 biggest cities. We demand that the city budget is redistributed these funds for co-ops whose purpose will be to improve the quality of life for oppressed nationalities by building schools, grocery stores, medical facilities, and creating living wage jobs with benefits.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. My name is Supervisor John Avalos. I'm on the Board of Supervisors of San Francisco. I represent the Excelsior, the Lakeview neighborhoods, and the Adam Mission neighborhoods. There's a serious disconnect between City Hall and the communities of San Francisco. Serious disconnect. I happened to be in New York City when the Daniel Pantaleo, Eric Garner decision came down. Eric Garner was the man who was murdered by the police, by Daniel Pantaleo in Staten Island, New York. And I saw the demonstrations on the streets of New York. They were peaceful demonstrations, blocking traffic, shutting down bridges, taking over public space. I came back, here we are. I came back inspired, thinking about this is a problem. It's not just in New York, not just in Ferguson, not just in Florida, not just in Milwaukee or Chicago. It's a problem that's also in San Francisco as well. We can't deny that. We can't talk about other places around the country. We don't look at San Francisco, what's happening here in our own communities. Last year, a young man named Alex Nieto was killed on Bernal Heights. Right there, he was eating a burrito, going to work. And there were many people in the community who were outraged, who had questions, and found themselves blocked from getting answers. And we've had many incidents that have happened since then. A young man on the corner of Folsom and 24th Street, Amilcar Perez, was killed as well. A young man from Guatemala didn't speak Spanish but spoke one of the indigenous languages of Guatemala, and he was gunned down by the police there. We tried to pass a resolution at the Board of Supervisors just indicating that here in San Francisco we have our own share of problems, and we could not get that passed at the board. A very innocuous resolution saying that the violence that happens when people are killed by the police, which is a reality, creates tensions in our communities, and we have to figure out how to ease those tensions. That's pretty darn innocuous if you ask me. And we couldn't get it passed. I get calls all the time, people saying they got jacked by the police. You can't even make a videotape in Bayview if you're black. If you make a videotape when you're black in Bayview, you're under surveillance. They'll watch you. But if you're out there partying in Dolores Park,
And you're a hipster.
nothing happens. Not that anything should happen. But that kind of level of scrutiny is always on our communities of color. And San Francisco is no exception. We talk all this talk about the out-migration of African Americans in San Francisco, and we don't do nothing about it except lip service. It's incredible. We have houses, middle-class black families that have held their homes for generations in San Francisco, losing their homes, and the city can't create a policy to help them keep their homes, to create affordable mortgages, how to use our public dollars to fight the banks that are killing our communities. Nothing gets done. Lip service. I'm done, thank you.
If there are people here who believe that everything will be fine if we have our police department address the issue of the tax, if you believe that everything will be fine if we have our sheriff department address the issue of the gladiator fights that are happening in our jails, if you believe that everything will be fine if we have our DA address what's happening with a crime lab where the results are compromised, if you believe that's all it takes, then I believe that you're in the wrong place, because this is not just about that. It is not just about the fact that our law enforcement community, that their credibility is being questioned. It is more fundamental than that. The problem in San Francisco is that we have lost our way. We are the city of St. Francis, and yet in the year 2015, San Francisco finds itself as the city with the fastest growing inequality of any city in this country. If San Francisco were an independent country, and we know that the United Nations actually tracks inequality by country. If San Francisco were an independent country, San Francisco's inequality would be up there with Rwanda. That's the San Francisco we live in. The top 5% of households in San Francisco make more money than any other top 5% of households in this country. To be in that top 5%, you have to make at least $430,000 a year.
We'll never make
And yet, you see in the Bayview, you see in Hunters Point, people are being pushed out. In the Mission alone, we have lost 8,000 Latinos in the last few years. We have a city that has 3% African American population. Where are we going to be in 5 years? Where are we going to be in 10 years? And so I'm here to tell you, it's not just about law enforcement. It is about reforming this entire city and how we do business in San Francisco.
This one's for the lovers who fight every day. This one's for the shy girls and boys who have so much to say. This one's for the old folk who still act like kids. And this one's for the young ones who think they know everything. Call me crazy now, but we're better than this, so let's shut it down. Call me crazy now, but we're better than this, so let's shut it down. Let's shut it down. Thank you.
Just one quick question. So this is the second action, right? Just because it's like the tax, just to make it bigger with the support SIU, right?
This morning we had an action over at 24th and Mission at the McDonald's for restaurant workers. Right now this is an action for janitors. This afternoon in Berkeley there's going to be another big action that's going to be happening. And again, it's about raising the wage of workers that you can't live on $15, you can't live on 10. Especially can't live on one job in the Bay Area. So we hope that people can come out and support, and this is what the janitors and SEIU 87 are about in San Francisco. We can't just have for ourselves, we have to raise everyone with us. Thank you.
aquí luchando por la causa.
Y desde el principio, cuando empezamos en noviembre hasta ahora, ¿qué puedes decir de que la acción que están haciendo de la asistencia de SIU?
Imagínate, es bonito venir acá a pelear por nuestros derechos. Y gracias nuevamente a ustedes por su apoyo.
¿Y qué esperas para el futuro? ¿Piensas que la justicia ya viene pronto?
Ya la justicia ya está, ya viene pronto. Y más la de Dios, más la justicia de Dios.
Para tener trabajo y tu salario y todo. El prefer ya te estaban escuchando, ¿verdad?
Ya viene pronto el mejor salario y mejor trato.
Today on a national level, workers throughout the country have taken to the streets calling for a one-day strike to be able to call for a $15 increase to the minimum wage. Today we're here in front of the Millennium Building Tower. Estamos hoy aquí frente a la Torre del Milenio to be able to call out an employer here, Preferred Building Services, who unequivocally, unethically, the supervisor here was asking women for sex in exchange for work. He sexually harassed the women, but on top of that, fired the workers when they wanted to be able to have a union. El supervisor de este edificio estaba exigiéndole a las mujeres relaciones sexuales a cambio de poder sostener un trabajo y hostigándolas sexualmente. Aparte de eso, lo más horrible que hizo fue que utilizaron el estado migratorio de los trabajadores para poder despedirlas cuando exigieron los trabajadores tener una unión que los representara. Esos trabajadores siguen ganando, los que están todavía trabajando aquí siguen ganando el mínimo a $10 la hora. The workers here continue to earn $10 an hour, and whether they have a union or not, workers need to be able to have a raise, right? And that's why we're saying it has to be $15 an hour. On top of that, the reason we're here is that one single apartment, un apartamento aquí, has the worth of being able to hire 30 janitors with health insurance, pension contributions. Can you imagine owning a place, owning an apartment that you could hire 30 workers with a pension, with retirement, with health insurance? That's a huge difference. Un departamento, un condominio de estos, se puede contratar a 30 trabajadores con aseguranza completa, con una pensión para contribuciones. So no es justo que en el siglo XXI siga existiendo un desequilibrio económico contra trabajadores de la media clase que están tratando de sostener a sus familias. It's unfair that in the 21st century, one apartment, you can hire 30 janitors, 30 families, that in the 21st century we're still seeing this huge inequity of wages that one owner can be able to have. Today we're knocking on their door to be able to tell them this is enough. Enough is enough. Thank you. Thank you. So for us it's really important that people understand that it's about the minimum wage and being able to provide for your families. Se trata hoy de poder sostener a sus familias.